It's no secret that the Nintendo Switch is definitely coming to the end of its life cycle. But despite its age, there's actually a ton of incredible Nintendo Switch games still to come. And today I'm going to go through 25 of my favorites to hopefully give you a reason to pick up the Switch once again. First up, we have one of the games that I am the most excited for, and we are now just months away, and that's Fantasy Life I: Girl Who Steals Time, which is coming out October 10th. Now, if they get Fantasy Life right, this is probably going to be my game of the year, as this genuinely looks to be everything I want from a life sim and so much more. As alongside all of your normal life simmy stuff like decorating, gathering, fishing and farming is an entire storyline that sees you journey between 2 points in time 1,000 years apart, all in hopes of trying to save the world. And at a time where there seems to be a ton of farming sims but not really many life sims, this does a ton to set it apart from all of the other farming games. The biggest of which is the ability to pick between 14 different jobs, which is essentially just different classes. And you can level each of them up, switch between them whenever you want, and learn different skills as you go. And this will allow you to pick anything from fighting classes like mercenary or magician, typical farming sim jobs such as mining and fishing, or crafting jobs such as cooking, alchemy, and so much more. And not only will the main storyline see yourself rebuilding the town, but you can also decorate it yourself, as you can not only choose where each of the buildings go, you can also place different decorations and even terraform. This seems to be a combination between being an RPG but also Animal Crossing-like mechanics, and I'm honestly here for it, so fingers crossed this is as good as I hope it to be. Another game I'm very excited for is Pokemon Legends Z to A. Now, although we don't have much information as of right now other than this one teaser trailer, every August for the past 3 years we've had a Pokemon Presents, so hopefully this month we'll be finding out a little bit more about it. One thing we do know though is that it's set in the same region as Pokemon X and Y. And considering this is carrying on the Pokemon Legends name, I think we can assume that this is going to be very similar in gameplay style to Pokemon Legends Arceus. Which honestly, I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion, but I enjoyed Arceus more than I enjoyed Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, so I am honestly so looking forward to this. As although the story in Pokemon Legends Arceus wasn't really the best, I spent so many hours shiny hunting and exploring, and honestly, I think I have triple the hours in Arceus than I ever did in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So this has to be one of the games I am the most looking forward to. Next up, we have the Plucky Squire. Now, just a few weeks ago, not only did we get a brand new gameplay trailer, but we also got the news that this will be releasing sometime in 2024. From the moment I saw the trailer, I knew I was invested, as just look at this aesthetic. This follows a bunch of storybook characters as they discover the 3D world that awaits them outside of the pages. The issue is, they're not the only ones who discovered the outside world, as so did Hump Grump, also known as the villain of the book, who, after exploring a little bit, decided to flick to the end of the storybook to find out the battle he was in was one he was destined to lose. So instead of accepting his fate, Hump Grump kicks Jot out of the book and decides to change the story and their fate forever. And this will follow Jot as he tries to restore the happy ending, but also save his friends by jumping between the 2D and 3D world. Now, as amazing as this looks, I am a little bit worried about how this is going to run on the Switch, but hopefully we'll get some new news very soon. Next up is Super Mario Party Jamboree, which comes out on the 17th of October. Mario Party is a bit of a weird one, as it's not necessarily a game I pick up often, but whenever I do, I always have an absolute blast. As for me, this is the go-to game whenever I have friends or family around, or at Christmas time. But honestly, this might be a game I pick up a little bit more because of everything that they've added. As not only is this bigger and better than any Mario Party game before it, with 7 board games and over 110 mini games to play, this is also the first Mario Party game that will let you play with up to 20 players. So now no one will have to be left out at the party or the family gatherings that you bring this to. And I am just so excited to see the chaos that is a 20-person Mario Party game. I think it's going to be messy and I think it's going to be fantastic. Then we have Professor Layton, which is coming sometime in 2025. Whenever I think back about the 2DS and 3DS games, I think Nintendogs, but also Professor Layton, as I just remember being sat there, getting my parents to try and help me with some of the puzzles, helping my brother out with other ones, as they were just so much fun for literally everyone to play. So when I heard that there was a brand new Professor Layton game, I kinda lost my mind. This follows Professor Layton and Luke as they set off for an adventure in America, giving us a very different backdrop from the London city we know and love from the previous games. But the location isn't the only difference, as this will see Luke being known as the town's detective rather than Professor Layton. And you'll follow the pair as they go around solving puzzles, where you even get to see the town grow and change after each puzzle they solve. This seems to be everything we know and love from the old school Professor Layton games, just with a little bit of a glow up. Not only in the gameplay mechanics, but also the stunning cutscenes we get to see as well. It's been a while since we've had much more information about it though, so I'm just sat here desperately hoping that we get a release date sometime soon. Another game coming out in 2025 is Hello Kitty Island Adventure. Now if you're a lover of Animal Crossing like myself, and you're trying to find a game to fill that hole in your heart that you've basically just been playing endless cozy games to try and fill, then I think Hello Kitty Island Adventure will really help. As in this, not only do you get to customize your very own Hello Kitty character, but you'll also find yourself crash landing on an abandoned island alongside all of the Hello Kitty cast. And this will see you set off to try and restore the island by helping out all of the characters with any of the tasks that they need, either for themselves or for the shops that they own. But the thing that made this game truly fantastic when I played it on Apple Arcade was not only the scope of gameplay that this has, as there is a ton of stuff to do, but it is also the dialogue, as this is hilarious and beautifully self-aware. And you definitely get the vibe that this is a game made for adults who love Hello Kitty, as there are so many jokes and references that were just made for our generation. Like for example, the start of the game literally has a Snakes on a Plane reference, so kids are definitely not going to get that. Or they shouldn't get that, I should say. This is coming to the Switch sometime in 2025. I adored it on Apple Arcade, and I think this will fit beautifully on the Switch. Next up, we have Dragon Quests. I've lumped this together as just one entry, but this is actually 3 different Dragon Quest games. So we have Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3, all being remade in this HD 2D style. And weirdly enough, Dragon Quest 3 will be the first game that is coming, as this is coming sometime in November. But although it's the 3rd game in the series, this is actually chronologically the first game in the overarching story. So if you're someone like me who hasn't really played much in the way of Dragon Quest before, then 3 will be the perfect one to start off with. Now this particular style is one of my favourite types that Square Enix makes, as not only does this look absolutely stunning, we know from the likes of Octopath Traveler that this will also run fantastically on the Switch. And if you're new to Dragon Quest, then this is a turn-based battle RPG that refines the combat system of the originals. And this follows the story of Allahan, who on his 16th birthday is asked to go on a quest which his dad, a once great hero, failed. And this quest is one to save the world. I've honestly been looking for a new RPG to just throw my whole soul into, and I genuinely think this might be the one, especially considering the fact that after I finish this one, we'll have 2 other games arriving sometime in 2025 as well. I've always heard such fantastic things about Dragon Quest, so I can't wait to get involved. Next up, we have Neva, which is arriving in 2024. And considering this is made by the same developers who made Grizz, this is going to be beautifully heartbreaking. This is described as being an emotionally charged action adventure. And this follows the story of Alba, a young woman who, after a traumatic encounter with a dark force, winds up bound to an adorable wolf cub. And this will follow their journey through a once beautiful world that now decays all around them. And over time, their relationship grows and changes as they do. And you see this wolf grow from a rebellious cub to a fully grown wolf trying to forge their own identity. And together they must do whatever it takes to survive and make a brand new home. And I truly think this is going to be such a special game. Then we have Europa. This is truly a game I cannot wait for. In this you play as an android named Z, who gets to fly and glide across this beautifully breathtaking landscape of Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. And this is a place filled with lush lands, stunning landscapes, and the remains of a fallen utopia. And as you explore all that this moon has to offer, you'll get to learn all about the story of the last human alive. And whilst this has no combat, this has plenty of secrets and puzzles to keep you busy. And most importantly, a story with a beautiful message. Then we have Magical Delicacy, which is coming August 15th. Now this released on Steam earlier last month, so I have already played it. And honestly, this is a fantastic game. This combines elements of cooking games, platforming, and a little bit of shop management in what has turned out to be such a wonderfully unique game. This sees you play as Flora, who moves into a distant town to open up her very own shop on a quest to become a witch. And in this, you get to explore a magical town from top to bottom, all whilst running and maintaining your very own kitchen. And as you explore, you'll be able to forage for ingredients that you pass along the way. And you'll also come across people who, when they discover that you're a chef, will request you to make certain dishes for them. And this can be anything from meals, teas, potions to pastries. Whatever the request, you go back to your house and make it for them. And then once you're done cooking, it's up to you to either sell them at your shop or deliver them in person. And as you progress through the story, you'll be able to upgrade your equipment and your shop as you go as well. The thing that really took me by surprise though is just how open this is. Not only because there's no linear story, meaning you can explore wherever you want to go, but also in the food requests themselves, as they're often so open-ended. People will just ask for a few criterias, like for example, a dessert that contains nuts. You can then go through all the recipes that you have and all the ingredients and make anything that applies to that. And although this game was maybe a little bit more platform heavy than I was expecting from the trailers, I really enjoy the fact that you can go through the settings and turn on easy platforming mode to make things a little bit easier. But it's been really fun to effectively explore a platforming open world with quests for you to go and carry out as well. So if you're on the lookout for a cozy game with a bit of a difference, I really think you're going to enjoy this. Next up, we have The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, which is coming out September 26th. And this is finally Zelda's time to shine, as this will see you play as Zelda, who sets off to try and save Link as he sinks into a huge rift in the ground. But instead of Zelda picking up a sword and fighting, she uses magic to combat the dangers of the world instead, by making copies of objects and enemies called echoes. And this feature is really cool because it's added a sandbox element to the game and allows Zelda to either get out of puzzle-like situations like scaling up cliffs, or even dealing with combat situations as well by being able to make copies of monsters and then making those fight for her instead. And I know there's been a lot of controversy over the fact that Zelda isn't fighting in a traditional sense. I actually really like this, and I'm really excited to see what this game has in store. Let's just hope though that this gets a little bit more TLC than Princess Peach did. Then we have Discounty, which is coming up sometime in 2025. And I like to describe this as being a Jojo Mart simulator game. As instead of this being a life sim where you get to play as a farmer and is all about restoring the land, you get to play as a supermarket owner, as this is essentially a game centered around capitalism. And this will see you move to a rundown harbour town to be in charge of your very own grocery store. So it's your job to make sure that every customer who shops there is happy. And it's up to you to do everything. You'll have to make friends with the townspeople to make sure your shelves are stocked with the right stuff. You'll also need to keep your shop floor clean. It's also your job to man the tills to make sure customers don't wait in line too long. And you'll even have to make trade deals with the locals as well. But as your business empire grows, so will your villagers' resentment, as often making big profits comes at the expense of others. I am so excited for a shop sim with a slightly darker twist, and I never thought I'd be so excited by capitalism, but here we are. Next up is Lego Horizon Adventures, which is coming sometime in 2024. This is honestly such a wild game to have come to the Switch, given that, you know, the original games aren't even on the Switch. which by the way, I just started playing my very first Horizons game and I am loving it. And although historically LEGO games have not been for me, I am kind of looking forward to this one. And although originally I thought this was just going to be a retelling of the original games, looking at what they've written on the Steam page, I'm not sure it is, as this is described as being a story where Aloy leads a colourful crew of heroes to save the Earth from a man called Helis. And unlike the original, this is a game that can be played solo or with a bunch of friends. Now, I'm pretty sure the trailer doesn't show any Nintendo Switch gameplay, so hopefully it still looks somewhat as beautiful on the Switch as it does in these trailers. But either way, hopefully we'll get a release date soon. Another game I'm excited for is Life is Strange Double Exposure, which is coming out October 29th. The Life is Strange franchise has to be one of the best choice-based narrative games there is. And if you're a lover of the original, then you'll be glad to know that this new game is back following Max. But this is set 10 years after the first Life is Strange game. And this will follow her after she discovers her close friend Safi dead. But when Max goes to try and rewind time like she did all those years ago, she winds up in a parallel timeline instead, where her friend is very much alive, but also very much in danger, as the killer is still after her. Now, the really interesting part about doing a sequel to a game that has multiple endings is figuring out how they're going to handle this. So I'm really interested to know which route they go. But either way, very excited that this has actually been confirmed to come to the Nintendo Switch. Then we have Stray, which is coming in the holidays of 2024. Now, if you're looking for a really cute game where you get to play as a cat, don't play this. Go and play Little Kitty Big City instead. But if you're looking for a fantastic story that follows a lost cat who needs to untangle a mystery to escape an ancient, long-lost city, then this might be the game for you. This will see you explore cyberpunk cities filled with curious robots. And in order to try and escape and reach the surface once again, this will see you solve a series of different puzzles. However, this world is not the safest. So if you're not a very skilled gamer like I am, you just need to be prepared to see the cat get a little bit hurt. So consider this your warning, but it is a fantastic game nonetheless. Another holiday release is Tales of the Shire. This is either going to be my game of the year, or this will be my biggest disappointment of the year. I love Lord of the Rings, so there will be no in between with this. As not only is this a cozy game based in the Lord of the Rings universe, this is all about living in a hobbit-filled town. As this is essentially a hobbit life sim that will see you create your very own hobbit. And in this, you live in the town of Bywater, a town not yet established as an official village in Hobbiton, but you make it your mission to try and set Bywater on the map. In this, you'll decorate your hobbit hole, tend to your garden, fish, forage, trade, and even cook and share food to foster your relationship with other hobbits. And one of the things I'm the most looking forward to is the ability to throw dinner parties. I'm really excited to see what other Lord of the Ring references they'll work into the main game itself. But either way, I'm excited, also very nervous for this release. Next up is Bloomtown, which doesn't have a release date yet, but just says coming soon. But this is a narrative JRPG monster catching game. And this is set in the 1960s and follows Emily and her younger brother Chester, who set off to Grandpa's quiet town for the summer. But right when you start to settle down, you realize that things aren't quite right. Each day, children begin to disappear. And the nightmares you have each night are starting to feel all too real. And it's not long before you discover that a demon world exists right under this town. So naturally, as a child, it becomes your job to unravel this mystery and try and save the town. But this is not something you can do alone. So you set off to try and tame the demons from the underside, to use them in turn-based battles to help you on your way. I'm so here for this Stranger Things vibe in a game. I just need more news about it. Then we have After Love, which is coming sometime in summer. And this is made by the creators of Coffee Talk, so you know it's going to be special. This is a slice of life adventure set in modern Jakarta. And this is a blend of being a visual novel, narrative adventure, but also a rhythm game. And this will see you play as Rama, a young musician struggling to move on after the death of his girlfriend. But despite his bandmates' best efforts to help, even after over a year, he still hasn't found a way to move forward. And it turns out that's because he can still hear his girlfriend's voice in his head. And the game will start off with just 28 days until his most important gig of all time. And either he needs to start taking care of himself and cracking on with his music, or else the bandmates will leave him. And of course, these choices are yours to make. This is going to be gut-wrenchingly beautiful, and I love this really unique mesh of genres. And hopefully it's going to be a game like Coffee Talk where you can play it multiple different times and get slightly different endings. Next up, we have Mario and Luigi Brothership, which is coming November 7th. Now, Mario RPG took me by surprise by just how much I loved it. So when I saw this pop up in the Nintendo Direct, I was so excited, as this looks to have many similar elements to Mario RPG. But although similar, this seems to have a very different art style to Mario RPG, but also the ability to control both Mario and Luigi at the same time. And honestly, just from the trailer alone, this game just looks to be a lot of fun, as this will see you explore various different islands spanning from tropical rainforests to bustling cities. Just a warning though, although there are 2 characters in this is very much a single player game. Next up we have Core Keeper, which is coming this summer. And this has been a game I've already been enjoying on my Steam Deck and really loving, as this is a mining sandbox adventure that can be played with up to 8 other people. But don't worry, if you're not into fighting, this is just one of many aspects of gameplay, as you can also mine relics and resources, build, craft, and even care for the animals you find. There's also a ton of different biomes to explore, from clay caves to crystal caverns, and also seas to sail across as you discover all of the secrets of this ancient world. One thing that really makes this stand out though is the ability to automate different processes, as you can put down production lines that can help out with things like mining. And all I can hope for is that this will come to the Switch with as good a price as it is on Steam right now. Then we have Minami Lane, which is coming to the Nintendo Switch August 15th. This is an adorable management sim set on Japanese-inspired streets. And this will see you create your very own neighborhood and manage the happiness levels of everyone who lives there. You get to decide the aesthetics of every building you place. Not only does this include houses, but there's also stores like bookstores and boba cafes, and attractions as well like parks and karaoke. You even get to go as far as to manage how each of these stores are run as well, changing things up based on the feedback of the street's residents. And although this maybe isn't the longest game, not only is this relatively cheap, you can also play sandbox modes that mean that the game never ends. Next up we have Potionomics, which is coming fall 2024, and this is a really unique take on a deck building game, which if you've watched recent videos you'll know that I've become especially obsessed with Balatro recently, so I'm really into more deck building games. This will see you play as Sylvia, who after the death of her uncle finds herself running a potion store, and it's your job to negotiate with customers, craft and outdo the competitors to not only try and stay afloat, but to also become the #1 potion seller in the land. And if you're wondering where the card deck plays into this is actually done in the negotiations, as it's up to you to play the right cards at the right times, and this should hopefully help you develop friendships with each of the different adventurers. And with decorating, brewing potions, and finding and choosing the right ingredients, there will be plenty to do in this deck building adventure. Another game coming in 2025 is Farlands, and this is currently in early access on PC, but it will be coming once it fully launches to the Nintendo Switch. And this is a farming sim with a bit of a difference, as in this you actually own an entire planet. And although at first you just bought it to live on, you soon find out that it will become your job to not only save your planet, but also the entire solar system you're in from being taken over from a big corporation. And to do this, you effectively need to build out a giant museum that catalogs each and every object in the entire solar system you're in. So not only will you find yourself farming to save up money, you'll also be exploring each of the planets in the solar system to grab as many different resources that you can to either catalog or to use to ensure that you can fly to the greatest reaches of the solar system you're in. The writing in this really captivated me, and I love the fact that you are an alien farmer. And obviously because this is an early access, I haven't explored everything, but what I've done so far, this is going to be a really fun and different experience. And last up we have Metroid Prime 4. Now, I've actually never played a Metroid game before, but I'm very excited to make this my very first one, as I feel a franchise that has this many people waiting this many years for its release and still being so excited must be a really good one to dive into. That's it for my list of my top 25 games coming to the Nintendo Switch to still look forward to. As always, if I missed any of your favorites, leave it in the comments down below. And if you want to check out my favorite farming sims of all time, click this video here.